What's going on, PGM family? Welcome back to another episode with the Power of a Growth Mindset. First off, let me take a step back. Happy holidays to y'all. It has been a little bit of time since we last connected and we last joined in this space. So we want to start off by wishing everyone a happy holidays. We know that this time can be joyous and it can be a great time for many folks, but we also recognize that this is also can be a tough time as well. So whatever you're going through during this holiday season, from our family to you. We're wishing you nothing but the happiest of holidays and hopefully whatever is going on, if you are having a tough time, that you are also overcoming. And so we thank y'all for tapping in with us during this holiday season. We appreciate y'all for the continued support. And just again, just thank you. We can't say it over. We can say it over and over. Just thank you to y'all. But Mike, man, I really want to start this episode off with checking in, man, because I know it's been a minute since it's just been you and I. And so I want to step in and see how things are going with you, man. I know you've been quite busy during this time. So how are things going?
Absolutely, man. This is our first solo episode this year.
Yeah.
We have been fortunate enough to have other people on our platform and allow them to come up here and share their stories and we be inspired and even them leaving inspired. And so, this is our first episode. So I am actually now that I realize that, that's crazy. That is crazy. Because
Yeah.
years prior, we would have to, do what we do to make sure we got episodes coming out. But that's growth for us. But all in all, man, as I look back over this year and just outside of the podcast itself, I'm completely thankful because oftentimes we say that we have our own goals and for me, I believe in God, and He oftentimes laugh at them. And
Mhm.
and I often say, I say, man, God, He has a unique sense of humor where I'm just like, yo, I didn't ask for none of this. And
Mhm.
while I appreciate some of the things that you have put me through or allow me to go through to be able to sustain once I get where I'm trying to go, but I also, pipe down a little bit.
Right.
Like pipe
Right.
down a little bit because some of the like I'm very strategic. Well, not even the word strategic. I'm very cognizant of what I pray for and how I pray
Mhm.
because if we pray, God, give me wisdom, allow me to gain the strength that I need to sustain and be able to go through my day to day life. He's going to send you things to make you stronger and send you problems to make you wiser. And so I'm very strategic and very cognizant, rather, on what I pray for. And so as I look back on my journey, I'm thankful for where I'm at, and I'm happy doors were closed this year. And
Mhm.
because if they were open for me, I'm not sure where I would be. And so as I enter this holiday space, I'm in more of a Christmas spirit. And we went through Thanksgiving, and it was the first time in a while that I actually felt connected, connected
Mhm.
to family, just connected to just the being in the moment. And I think because one, it was my year anniversary of being out on my own.
Yeah. 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 I
And
know.
yeah, and you now have that space where you have time to just think about, reflect, and do what you need to do to be there for yourself. And I think that is an underrated blessing that
Mhm.
oftentimes people don't value, or just the time that you have alone, because oftentimes we are surrounded by so much noise and chaos to the point where it's just like, man, like when is there silence?
Yeah.
And so, I'm just thankful for that. And so, going into this upcoming holiday, I'm just going to continue to live in the moment, but also be joyful
Mhm.
at what is presented to me in every second that I breathe. And so, sum that up, man, I'm doing good, man. Things are happening in my life. There's a lot of new updates that I'm sure I will be sharing pretty soon with the world.
Yeah.
Um, there's just great things going on, and there are some challenges too, man. I don't want nobody to say, well, he's in his season, because I'm not in my season. I would say
Mhm.
my season was at the beginning of the year, but I'm
Yeah.
not in my season. I think I'm in a season where I have to be patient.
Mhm.
Um, I'm doing a lot of gardening where I'm watering, I'm fertilizing the seed that I have planted so that I can reap that harvest in the coming days. And so I'm good, man. There's some dark days, definitely, but
Mhm.
I'm taking it with strides, and I'm growing stronger and wiser, but I'm also being challenged. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about an 8.
Hey, that's a beautiful thing. And I don't want to I don't want to go forward without talking on two things. One, as you were talking about these challenges with God, first off, we talk about all the time, he give his greatest challenges to his strongest soldiers. And I know
Am
sometimes
I?
you don't want
Am
to be a
I?
soldier. You don't want to be a
I
soldier, but
ain't
at the
signed up for
same
that.
time, you didn't sign up for it.
Uh,
But
uh,
I always attribute these challenges that we're going through as moments that are going to put us in a position when that big goal that we're striving for comes, or whatever he has planned for us. This is just a moment to not only, I wouldn't say necessarily test, but it's an opportunity for us to embrace some form of growth moment that we know when the time comes and we walk into whatever path we're going through, it's like, man, I already done this. Like, I'm
hmm
good. So,
hmm
um, as you were kind of talking about like your challenges, I think what the beauty in this is also from what you were talking about with your story is just that moment of gratitude as well.
hmm
In the sense that sometimes being still is kind of necessary. Like, and I know that that was something that I struggled with early on this year. And I relate so much to what you were saying because all the time we're like, we need to execute on this now, or we think that we're supposed to get the gift or receive that blessing in this season because we already felt like we put in the work. But at the end of
hmm
the day, we also know that that seed may not bloom this season. That seed might not
Absolutely.
bloom for another 2 or 3
Absolutely.
seasons. And
Absolutely.
so I receive where you're coming from. I know a lot of other people are going to receive that because at the end of the day, we talk about this platform, like things like this take time, but the reality is wherever you're at in your cycle, wherever you're at in your process, just know at some point something's got to give. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the good days are going to be the good days. Like we always, my dad mentions it all the time. He's like, keep the main thing,
hmm
and take the good and the bad because you just
hmm
don't know. Like, when you look at your heartbeat, you're gonna have the high points, you have the low points. If you flatten
hmm
out, you're done.
All right.
And so it's just embracing every moment of that journey. So I appreciate you sharing where
Absolutely,
you're
man.
at.
And I would even go to add, man, one thing I learned in therapy, I would say about a month ago is sometimes you are surrounded by so much chaos to the point you're like, yo, it's me. Cause it's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's just like the world around us is just chaotic.
Yep.
And sometimes if you're not careful, you will self-internalize things to the point where you're like, it's me. And sometimes in reality, it's not you. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's the way things are. And you have to have that discernment to the point where you're able to say, you know what, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I'm showing up, I may need to take a step back. And I know we talked about this several times before on previous episodes. It's just being cognizant of taking that step back, but
Mm-hmm.
also just understanding when you're at your limit.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I have acknowledged, I have come to terms with, and just saying that while I recognize that I'm very much capable of completing a lot of tasks at hand. However, I am at a limit where I cannot go any further. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, what that looks like, bam, this, that, and the third. And so just being real with yourself and understanding that you are not superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
As I like to say, super save a hoe. That's not the goal. That's not the goal at
Mm-hmm.
all. And so just being just real with yourself and stop putting so much pressure on yourself to the point where you're not able to live in the moment. Because I look back and man, it's been almost 6 years since I graduated from undergrad, and I'm
Man,
just
don't
like,
say that.
yo,
Don't
where
say
where has time
that.
gone? Where time flies, man, and so it
Right.
waits for no one. And so having that understanding is just like, yo, you have to read the older you get. You have to redefine what life means to you and what you want your life to look like. And for me, recognizing that when I say I'm at my limit, I'm not saying I'm weak, but I'm saying I know I can't. this is all I'm gonna accept when it comes to
Mhm.
this right here. And that is something that I'm very appreciative of, because in past I have internalized, and when I internalize things, I kind of like keep it to myself and I shut down, and that's, that's not growth. And so
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I don't even think it's just recognizing, like where you're at with your limit, but I think part of that process too is recognizing when it's okay to let go. Also recognizing it's okay to, in that process, being okay with rest. Like as you were kind of talking through that process of like recognizing like, you're at your limit with some things, you're okay walking away from some things, but also recognizing when it's okay to just put a pause or put a pin in it and just be like, maybe this isn't the time, or this is a moment where I just have to take a break from this and we'll come back into it at a later date. So, you know, hey, that's part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, man, I know we talked about me, but you have
Mhm.
accomplished a lot of great things this year, and you are on a trajectory where I call you the bald-headed news anchor. But on a real note, you have accomplished a lot of great things this year, and
Mhm.
I know you have shared like the Ironman, so I can make mention of that on the
Yeah.
episode. But you completed the Ironman, and you have done some other great things. So, what's new, but also what's the highlight, and what was the
Mhm.
lessons learned from those experiences that you were able to tackle, but also learn from?
Yeah, man. I will say there are quite a few things that I feel like I've been able to check off the box this year. But I kind of had this moment of realization, like what we were talking about last week, where I kind of shed a thug tear
Not a thug tier.
last Thursday. Yeah, like because it was a moment of there was kind of like as you were mentioning, this was a year where there was a lot of unknowns and
Hmm.
uncertainty and a lot of chaos and a lot of the things that I had going on.
Hmm.
And I had to find a way getting comfortable with ambiguity. I
Mm,
had to find a way to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and figuring out how to move through different situations.
hmm.
And so I think last Thursday was kind of that full circle moment for me. So to give some context to the audience, I moved, as you know, I kind of switched jobs or switched roles sometime around May. And I wanted and I prayed for a role that was going to challenge me to think outside the box, that was going to challenge me to think critically, but that was also going to give me exposure in different ways in my career. And I think early on, like anything that's new, you have the training wheels, but it's still hard to balance. And I think that as I was kind of going through that process of having to get familiar with being on the road and meeting with customers, to getting familiar with trying to figure out how I create balance in my own life, to making sure that family is good and friends are good and the relationships that I'm forming are okay, like all of that took me kind of getting readjusted. And I would say the part of the reason why I shed the thug tier last Thursday was because kind of as you were talking about the news anchor joke, I had an opportunity to be on a broadcast with our company and talk about what's going on in the nonprofit sector, what's going on in our communities. And it was the first time where I had to learn how to read from a teleprompter. I had to learn how to facilitate a conversation with a camera just like focused on you and people looking at you, and it was different, right?
Hmm.
And as I look back at that moment, not only just from that experience, but everything from the Ironman that I completed this year to getting comfortable in the new role to volunteering with different organizations. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned this year is being comfortable in this city. Like I've been in New York for almost 2 years now, and I moved here without knowing a lot of people and had to create new friendships, create a new network, get involved with different things. And it was just that full circle moment on Thursday where I was like, yo, like I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? Like I
Just
got,
all right.
but I'm doing well.
Hmm.
And I say that because if you could have went back and asked me how I felt 6 months when I officially kind of left home, dog, I had moments where I was crying at night. I had moments where I was just kind of questioning, like, is this for me? I had
Mhm.
moments of like, let me just go take that flight back home because it's familiar. You know, we are creatures of habit. It's familiar. And when I got through last Thursday on little no sleep, I accomplished what I needed to throughout the day. And just seeing everything and how everything has just come full circle, it was like, man, like, all right, like it's cool. And
Mhm.
so kind of what you were going back to and alluding to is like I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm in my season because I still think that there are a lot of areas that I'm growing and improving upon and getting better in. But I recognize in this process that I had a glimpse of light, and it was just an affirmation of seeing that what I'm doing and where I am is okay.
Mhm.
And regardless of, you know, what could transpire in the next couple months, who knows how things are going to move the next few months. It's just that reaffirmation of knowing that, you know, my purpose and what I'm doing and how I'm moving is good.
Mhm.
And you know, I always talk about um and we talk about this all the time about, you know, where do we see ourselves and, you know, what do we expect ourselves to accomplish in the next few years. um I'm very comfortable with, yeah, I have a goal in mind of where I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, but I'm also comfortable in the sense that let me be present in today. Let me enjoy the moment that I'm in, the highs and the lows, and realize that those full circle moments are going to continue to come as long as I just kind of stay grounded in who I am. I make sure that my values and what I'm doing are aligned, and the people that I aspire to impact are being impacted. And as long as I'm doing those things and, you know, I'm finding those outs to challenge myself or find those outs to allow myself to rest and relax and finding the things that are important and impactful to me, at the end of the day, I can't ask for anything else. So I to kind of summarize your question, I'm in a place where I'm in a season of gratitude right now, where as I look at this holiday season, I've got a healthy family, I've got friends that are doing extraordinary things. I'm in a place where, you know, I'm doing my thing and I feel like I'm doing it well. And hey, you really can't ask for more.
That's what we love to see, man. That's great. One is it's a blessing to hear other men, but black men, you and I, just been able to share, just be vulnerable on this platform
Hmm.
and just be real with one another about, yeah, we have had some setbacks, but at the same time life has still been good to us. And
Hmm.
regardless of what, if life throws lemon at us, we're going to make lemonade out of it, but at the same time we are going to make something of ourselves to the point where, in a sense, we talk about leaving a legacy. And
Hmm.
as we look at the platform, and I want to kind of pivot a little bit because the success that we have had personally
For sure.
is I think is where it needs to be. But when we reflect over the podcast, man, what are your thoughts, man? Like I said at the beginning of the show,
Hmm.
this is the first time in I want to say a year almost that we have had we just went live with one another.
Right.
This past year, it was more so bringing on guests. So as we look at the platform, where do you stand with that? What are some reflective moments for you? And if not reflective, well, if there's no highlights, shall I say,
Hmm.
what were some memorable episodes throughout this year?
I'll kind of go back to kind of as we talked when we met a number of weeks ago,
Hmm.
and we were going through the planning for this upcoming year. It is amazing to see when we started with this, you know, figuring out from how we're gonna film ourselves to having, you know, recorded that first episode, how no who knows how many times, you know,
That's crazy, man.
it's one of those things where and the like, but like on the real, like as we look at the platform. I look at the level of not only growth from our audience in terms of the folks who are tapping in and the things that they're getting from the Motivation Mondays to the guests we're bringing on the show, but I also look at it from the perspective of how we've grown,
Hmm.
in the sense that we both, while we had this idea in mind and we are doing it well, I
Hmm.
look back at those moments of like, dog, like, man, we got to hear ourselves speak, or like, hey, we have to put ourselves on camera and talk. Like we have these conversations as homies all the time,
Hmm.
but doing it in a sense where our voice has to go out and be heard, and figuring out how to put together content, like it was just it's different. And
Hmm.
I think that this experience and this thing that we've created has stretched us in a way that has not only allowed us to impact communities that we're a part of, but it's
Hmm.
also impacted us in a positive way in a sense that, you know, getting comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations, getting comfortable speaking on things that we know are taboo topics in our community and shedding
Hmm.
light on the impact that it's supposed to have on folks. So to answer your question in terms of highlights or how I feel about the podcast, I don't necessarily think that there's an episode like we had some fantastic episodes, we've had fantastic guests, but I think as I look at it holistically, the highlight for me is as we look back at, and I we can even go back to when we did the photo shoot. We like you got hair, now I don't have hair. Like,
Yo, let's leave
we
them memories there. Right? Man, that's
but
been three
but
years
like
though.
it, right, but like think about it, man. Like how much this platform has aged and how
Hmm.
much we have also aged with it, like, and it hasn't been like an aging thing from a bad thing, it's been an aging thing like the wisdom and the knowledge and the growth that we have acquired over these
Hmm.
last few years, like that that's the highlight.
Hmm.
And to see and talk about where we want to take this thing, from some of the things that we want to bring to the audience next year, some of the conversations that we want to have with future guests. Like I'm telling you, man, like it leaves me in a space where I'm grateful where we're at. I'm thankful we've been able to continue to challenge ourselves and stretch ourselves. And I know that as we continue to think about the impact that we want to make, we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to continue to scale that. And so it just, I don't know, man. It gives me chills. It leaves me in a place of gratitude. It leaves me in a place where I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. But I would ask you the same question, man. I know that was a long way to answer to your response, but
Hmm.
how are you thinking? What do you like? Where are you at with this, man?
I want out. Nah, you know, in full transparency, I think the podcast allowed me to define my voice. It was created on the foundation of we can no longer be silent.
Hmm.
And while it was during COVID and podcasts were becoming very popular back then, many of them are not sustaining right now. And
Right.
as I look back at the experience is more personal for me because when I reached out to you, like, yo, we got to do something about this. And we went through a series of planning. You talked about that, but it was more so I couldn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel because I all I knew was I had a vision. And
Hmm.
in that vision, it was more so it needs to be executed. How it's going to be executed, I'm not sure, but I'm willing to get my hands dirty to figure out how it's going to be executed. And so, kick year one off with a bang. I think we did a fairly great job. We grew. We set some challenges. In year two, and then here we are in year three, and we set more challenges that we were
Hmm.
able to, accomplish in some areas for growth. Excuse me, but as I look at the platform at large, I think everyone that came to the platform was able to. leave me with something that stuck with me. I try to position myself every time I meet someone for the first time or for the second time to get something from what they are offering, because all too often we sometimes don't take advantage of hearing someone else's story
Mhm.
until we have to read about it and it's too late. And
Yeah.
I value firsthand information coming from a source. And so, I was inspired by the many stories that were shared on the platform. But I think for me, just, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm very much an introvert. People be peopling, and my people level sometimes, it gets up there, and I'm just like, when I get off work, I don't have nothing else to say to nobody. And
Mhm.
I think this platform really pushed me to be more so of an ambivert. So I will be an extrovert when I need to be, but I would definitely say, okay, all right, let's have a good day. I'm out. And so, as it relates back to the podcast itself, man, I think um I was able to find my voice and advocating for what I believe in, and challenging people to, you know, I hear you, I hear what you're saying. And you and what some I think it was Dr. Rodman. He talked
Mhm.
about you have the truth and you have your truth, right?
Right.
And so that really stuck with me. And I try to utilize what I learned from other people and apply it to my lifestyle, because sometimes we can exist but not necessarily understand that we could be existing in our own little world, and that's not the reality that many people live in. And so just being mindful of that. But as it going back to the episode, man, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I would say the podcast itself allowed me to find my voice. As we are recording, is more natural for me now. I'm not one who can I don't think I was ever meant to be an actor. I just can't look at a camera and just like not laugh, man, because that's who I am. Like, I'm a goofball. But it just helped me to find my voice. It helped me to find my lane and understand, wow, this is a show right now, but we got so much more to accomplish. And who knows what's going to happen years from now. But I think this is a start. And
Yeah.
while this is a start for us, I do believe that we have touched a lot of people, and a lot of people have directly touched us as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I love what you said about finding your voice.
Hmm.
Because, I think when we think about today's how folks operate today, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but
Who you speaking for?
shoot, I'm
Who
I'm
who
just talking
you?
about
Nah,
our
nah, nah. I bet you
experience.
won't at them though.
Hey, I ain't at nobody. I don't want no smoke out here. I don't. I do not. But
Oh
it's
man.
folks, when we think about sources and people like, oh, I got my information from Twitter, or I got it from the Shade Room, or it's
Ain't no wrong with Twitter.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with Twitter.
I'm
I
sensing there's a
just
little shade
nah,
coming.
no shade. But to your point
Oh man.
around, finding and creating a space where people's stories can be heard, the lessons that they want to give out to the world, like this is what this platform was meant to do. And when you say going back to you finding your voice, I think you found your voice. I agree with you. I think I found my voice in this platform. But I also think that there are folks who continue to plug into us who are also finding their voices as well.
Hmm.
And that's the most beautiful thing when you start thinking about how folks want to craft their story, or start thinking about, you mentioned early on, like, are you getting your information and thinking because somebody else said it, or are you thinking because of like, these are your thoughts because of
Hmm.
what's going on? And so I think this space has allowed folks to think critically and reevaluate. And going back to what I was saying, finding their voice, it is literally finding out what is the truth, what is your truth, and then based off of those things, how are you going to move? How are you going to grow from the situation? How are you going to apply the things that you've learned to the experiences that are you're facing right now?
Hmm.
And so that's so very exciting to see with the folks who are interacting with us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, if you could describe, I guess, this year at a glance,
Hmm.
in one sentence, what would it be?
Hmm. In one word or one sentence?
One sentence.
Hmm.
You got you got 2 degrees and you had to restate it.
What we're not gonna do is come for me.
You got 2 degrees and you know, good well, I ain't say no word. But yeah, if you
Hmm.
had to describe this year at a glance in one sentence, what would it be?
Hmm. And with the show or just in general? I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question.
Whatever, however you perceive that question, or however
Hmm.
you receive that question.
Hmm. If I could summarize it in one sentence, hmm. Stay consistent, but be open to experiencing ambiguity in the sense that when I look at not only just my own personal life, right, but I also think about the show. And you kind of already touched on it, where first year we came out with a bang. Year two we came out with some information, and then year three,
Hmm.
we came out, we dropped Motivation Monday this year. We had some great guests on the show, and this year I think for us was all about being consistent.
Hmm.
And when we think about where we want to go next year, what we want to do with this platform, how we want to continue to motivate and inspire, we all know that that comes with consistent work that we'll have to continue to put in when it comes to growth in our audience. Folks will have to consistently put in the work. Um, but when I say being open to ambiguity, we also know things change. And we saw that in our personal lives. We saw this in the platform in terms of, what stories do we want to tell? What impact do we want to make? And so that's how I would summarize the year in one sentence. And I think when you take the consistency with a little bit of ambiguity, you also start to see growth because you're put in situations where they can be comfortable or they can be uncomfortable, and based off of the information that you have in the experience that you have to decide how you want to move forward. So that's where I think we're at. And I would ask you the same, man, as we start thinking about this in one sentence.
Mm. If I could describe this year at a glance in one sentence, whew, it kind of reminds me of the song by James Fortune. In life, uh, you will have like problems. You will have things that you have to go through. It's no way that you can get around it. You can quit, but just as soon as you resume, it's going to be right there,
Mhm.
waiting for you to, I guess, conquer. And so you can't get through it, you can't go around it, but I'm sorry, you can't go around it. You can't like just stop. You have to go through it. And so with that being said, I think for me, um, regardless of what is thrown your way, understand that you can get through it.
Mhm.
Um, I think it is important to realize that sometimes things seem unbearable, but you don't know how much not me trying to get choked up. You don't know how much you can accomplish if you just bet on yourself
Mhm.
and just take it in small chunks. And sometimes we may see the whole big picture, but I've learned this year the key to just breaking things down into smaller tasks to be able to accomplish the long-term goal. And for me, it was just important to realizing that this year. And so yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Well, I know there's a lot more that we can unpack, but I also know there's a lot more that we're also going to be showing and as we move into next year. And so, first off, my guy, I want to say I appreciate you. I thank you. I love you. You are my brother. And, what we've done and what we're going to continue to do and the impact that we're going to make, this is just the beginning. So I want to wish you a happy holidays. I want to wish our audience a happy holidays. And let's get it in 2024, man.
Absolutely. And for anybody that's looking to be a part of movement of opportunities, and you have something in mind that you want to accomplish, you feel the need that God has led you to do whatever. I encourage you to do that. Don't just wait till the new year, but do that one little thing that's going to push you or get you to where you want to go. It could be literally, hey, I want to learn more about entrepreneurship. The first step could literally be researching what entrepreneurship is. And I encourage everyone, regardless of what other people say about your vision, it was never designed for them to comprehend. And if God wanted them to comprehend your vision, he would have gave them that exact vision. So whatever you got in mind, go for it. You got this. You can get through this. But most importantly, it all starts with you.